Talking about the deadly anti-government protests in Iran. Thousands of protesters killed while President Donald Trump threatens the potentiality of swift, definitive military action against the Iranian regime if those executions do not stop. For now, the president says they appear to have stopped. So joining us now is Mona Yacoubian. She's director of the Middle East program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Okay, so let's have this conversation right now. Are these protests working to weaken the regime's power there in Iran?
Well, I think the protests, by all accounts, are the most significant in years, if not decades. They've absolutely illuminated all of the many challenges and the weaknesses of the regime in Tehran. It's because of their significance, though, and the threat that they pose, that we have seen the regime crack down now with brutal and lethal force. And that has led to somewhat of an abatement of the protests, at least for now. But the core challenges remain, and this regime has proven itself, frankly, incapable of addressing the many different domestic challenges that Iran faces. So even if the protests have quieted temporarily, the challenges remain, and an eruption of new and additional protests certainly could be on the horizon.
Well, and then, of course, we know that the Iranian regime has executed an entire internet blackout there, which really stops the world from being able to peek in and see what is going on as far as the ground game. Any indication about how long that internet blackout will last, or will the regime just think, man, this is just another card stacked against us to do something like this?
Well, exactly. I mean, the internet blackout is simply another sign of the desperation of this regime, of the fear that the reality on the ground will be known to the world. And so, by all accounts, the regime is signaling that it will maintain this internet blackout for some days. And I think we won't see perhaps the reopening of the internet and communications between Iran and the world anytime soon. But of course, there are also workarounds. We've seen and heard there are Starlink satellite terminals there. And perhaps there will be an accelerated effort to get more of those kinds of workarounds on the ground so that there will be a way for Iranians to communicate with the rest of the world.
What's stunning to me is, I started the week, we were saying more than 500 protesters had been executed by the regime. Quickly, those numbers jumped up into the thousands. We can only assume that there are many of these protesters who are in detention right now somewhere in Iran. If President Donald Trump makes good on the potentiality of a strike in Iran, do you see that as being a targeted strike directly for regime change?
The reporting suggests that the president is not interested in getting involved in an open-ended confrontation in Iran with U.S. boots on the ground. A regime change effort is going to have to be more than a targeted set of strikes. So I do think a targeted strike or surgical strikes, if they happen, is the most likely form of military intervention. I could see the administration targeting symbols of Iran's repression, whether it's the IRGC or the Basij or the Ministry of Intelligence. There are different symbolic strikes that could be taken, but I don't see the administration opting for wide-ranging and broad military interventions.
Those symbolic strikes, it's fascinating to hear you list those one by one. That gives us something to be watching out for. Thank you so much, Mona Yacoubian. Nice to have you with us on CBS News 24/7.